The 2024 NBA Draft is exactly 3 months away, and on today's video, we are going to look at a recent upload from ESPN that is a 2024 NBA Mock Draft. Sweet 16 and Elite 8 is going on right now in March Madness. Let's take a temperature check on where some of those prospects could go in late June. But before we get into those mock drafts, help me out. Last week, the highest liked video on our Chat Sports YouTube page got 717 likes. I want to beat that number right now. So hit that thumbs up icon. Let's get better than we were last week and get to 750 likes at minimum. All right, let's check in with ESPN. And they had Zaccharie Risacher, the forward from France, going number 1 overall to the Detroit Pistons. I think this is a solid match for those two. Risacher and Alex Sarr are the two guys that are going to likely go at top 2. Who doesn't know the order, as Sarr is going to Washington in this mock. But Risacher going to Detroit makes a lot of sense because they already have a center in Jalen Duren. Risacher could play more of the 4, maybe a little bit of 3 as well. He can space the floor pretty solidly, and him and Duren would be a nice pair. And then when you look at Alex Sarr's fit potentially in Washington, well, again, they got rid of Daniel Gafford. They don't really have a big man inside to pair up with their guards and Kyle Kuzma. Sarr, elite rim protector. I think he would be a great fit in Washington. I mentioned these two. Well, recent betting odds actually came out on the odds to go number 1 overall. And it kind of showcases that it's a 2-horse race to go number 1. I still think it should be Alex Sarr. It is dependent on who does get that first overall pick. Shout out to the lottery happening in late May. But I think Sarr should go 1. I think he's the better player. But him and Risacher will probably go 1, 2 in any order. Reed Shepherd's an really interesting number 3, really good basketball player, but he should not be in consideration to go first overall, in my opinion. Nikola is more likely to go number 1 in my book, and Donovan Clingan being the 5th best odds. That's pretty something too, but he did go pretty high in this mock draft that we'll get to in just a second. But pick a player for me that should go number 1. You could pick anyone you want, but to me it would be likely Alex Sarr or Risacher. Who should go first overall in late June? Get in the comment section and let me know. First collegiate player off the board, number 3, Rob Dillingham, the freshman guard from Kentucky, heading over to San Antonio. The Spurs should take a guard, whether it be Rob Dillingham or Nikola, who goes number 4 to Charlotte here. When you look at the Spurs, they need to pair up Wemby with an elite guard. Either Dillingham or Topic can do that. Dillingham's more of a scorer. Topic is a facilitator. Either way, those two guys are likely going to be the 2 guards that go off the board first. I like both of their abilities. How about Donovan Clingan, the guy that we just mentioned a second ago, going number 5 to Portland? This is a little high, if you ask me. In my own personal mock draft I did last week, I had Clingan go late lottery, that 11 to 13 range. This is pretty big jump for the big man for UConn. He's obviously leading the Huskies, the number 1 overall team in the country right now. I just don't know what he brings to the table offensively, but he does have the potential to be an elite rim protector and rebounder in the association. Matas Buzelis going number 6 here to Toronto, which is interesting, by the way, because the Raptors currently have the 6th worst record in the NBA, and that's the only way they keep their pick. If their pick is later than 6, and once the lottery is all said and done, they don't get it. It's traded away from them. So they're going to likely try to keep it losing and stay in that top 6 so they get the pick. And when you look specifically at Buzelis, I love this man's upside. He is my personal 3rd player in the draft class. I haven't done a full big board yet, but I've started charting a little bit of these guys in the first round, and I have Matas at number 3. He can defend at all 5 positions in my book, especially when he gets his weight up. He also has the ability to get to the rack and finish, hit a little floater game. And his jump shot form is actually pretty solid. The numbers aren't fantastic for the G League Ignite team this past season, but I think he projects as someone who could absolutely space the floor in the NBA. I love Matas Buzelis. He actually recently challenged Zaccharie Risacher, who would be the number 1 pick, to a one-on-one match at the NBA Draft Combine. Let's see if that happens. That would be fireworks. The aforementioned Reed Sheppard going number 7 to Memphis. The Grizzlies' premium pick here after a down year with all those injuries. If they added Reed Sheppard as the backup guy to John Morant and Desmond Bane to be that third guard coming off the bench, that'd be a fantastic fit. Sheppard shooting over 50% from 3 and averaging 2+ steals a game for the Wildcats this year. Struggled in March Madness, but he absolutely has the ability to be a difference maker in the NBA. Another guy I absolutely adore, Dalton Knecht, the forward from Tennessee, averaging 20 points a game. Struggled in his game against the Texas Longhorns in the round of 32, but he's an absolute shooter. He has a great mentality. If it does not matter if he's missing shots, he will go back and find his spot and get to the rim. He's also got sneaky athleticism. Thanks to his lengthy arms, he can really get to the rim, finish over people, and when I mean finish over, he might head tap you at times. I am a big fan of Dalton Knecht. He is a first fired top 10 pick, if you're asking me. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel, though, because we are going to bring you more NBA draft content, whether it be the latest rumors, mock drafts, a big board. We will have it all here for you at Chat Sports, so make sure you hit that sub button. My name is Nic Rohloff, and I kind of spearhead this NBA draft content for in June. We'll be live for those 2 days as well, because it is 2 days. Don't remember, there's separate days, first round and second round, so make sure you do hit that sub button. Let's check out Cody Williams going number 9 to the Utah Jazz. Cody Williams, interesting player here. A lot of potential. Younger brother of Jalen Williams, the forward for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Has the ability, but doesn't showcase it a lot. He did have a fantastic game in the round of 32 when they narrowly lost to Marquette. Cody Williams, very inconsistent player, but he sure does have the talent of a top 10 pick. The number 1 player going into this collegiate season, Isaiah Collier, the point guard from USC, going here to the Atlanta Hawks. Maybe the Hawks trade off Trae Young or DeJounte Murray in the offseason. I think it's a very real possibility. Maybe they recoup some assets, but Collier has a lot of potential, just needs to really get that jumper down and really mature into his body. Jacoby Walter, number 11, to the Oklahoma City Thunder. How about the Thunder? They could potentially have 2 picks in the lottery if it goes their way based on other teams' protections. Jacoby Walter would be a great fit for them because he has a really sweet shooting stroke for the Baylor Bears this past season. True freshman, highly touted recruit, and he could just work off of Shai Gilgeous so nicely, and potentially moving off Josh Giddey in the offseason. If they moved off Giddey and brought in Walter, who has the size to play the 2 or the 3, that would be a dangerous 3-man backcourt. Ron Holland, the forward from the G League Ignite, going to the Bulls here. I like Holland, very athletic. Struggles with his jump shooting, but he can really get to the rim. Averages 18+ points a game at the G League Ignite level. Very young prospect as well. I originally had him coming into the year as a top 5 pick, but he slid a little bit thanks to the rise of some other prospects, like Walter, honestly, that we did not anticipate. What you should do and play every day is PrizePicks, because they're offering you a fantastic deal, and they're making today's show possible. And the best thing about PrizePicks is that they've got great deals for new users and returning users alike, especially as March Madness is continuing to move on with the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. The NBA playoffs is just around the corner as well. The action on the hardwood is heating up. So get started today with PrizePicks. All you got to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you could win up to 5, 10, 25 times your money when you get started with PrizePicks. Right now, I'm looking at the Sweet 16. I got 3 picks that could win 5 times my money. I'll go more than on 10 points for the sharpshooter out of Iowa State, Milan. I always botch his last name, so I'm just going to leave it at Milan. But he's a freshman. He could shoot the pill. And in that fast-paced Illinois defense that doesn't really play a lot of defense, I'll think he'd get a lot of shots up. Same thing with Dalton Knecht. Creighton, Tennessee is my game of the weekend when you look at the Elite 8 and Sweet 16. Knecht, after struggling in that round of 32 game, I think will have a bounce-back performance. I'll take the more than on Knecht. And then Marcus Domask. Iowa State's the best defensive team in the country, maybe behind Houston. You could argue that they are just the best. I think they limit on the shooter from Illinois. Domask has had a great season, but I'll take the less than on that 16.5 points. So get started today with PrizePicks. You can either download the app and use code CLNS, or go in the description and comments of today's video and hit that code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Just pick more than, pick less than. It's that easy. Tajani Saloon going 13th to the Portland Trail Blazers. There's a big range where Saloon could go here, to be honest. Like, I think he could go in the 20s, but I wouldn't be shocked if he went to the lottery. He's a raw prospect. He can really space the floor. He's an athletic guy. Interesting. I can't really pinpoint where he's going to go, though, but ESPN has him going 13th to Portland. They also have Zach Edey, the center out of Purdue, maybe the most divisive player in college basketball right now. He gets a lot of hate, but he is one of the best collegiate basketball players of all time. He has been dominant in his 3 or 4 seasons at Purdue. They have him going last pick of the lottery. I don't see it. I just don't know where he fits in the NBA. Sure, he could give you 10 to 12 minutes, maybe rim protecting, but I don't think he's agile enough to keep up with some of the athletic big men in the NBA right now. How is he going to play in drop coverage? I don't like the fit for Edey in the NBA. I'd take a flyer on him in the second round, but lottery, Someone that I am high on is Kyle Filipowski, and this fit in Philadelphia is very intriguing. They have had an interesting mix of front court mates with Joel Embiid recently, and I think Filipowski could slide into that 4 role next to Embiid, provide 2 solid front court guys that can defend a little bit, but Filipowski could space the floor on the offensive side of the ball. I think he projects as someone that fills a Lauri Markkanen type role. Not as going to be as good as a shooter as Lauri is, but he could be that guy that works inside, works outside. I'm a big fan of Filipowski's game and believe he's going to be a very solid NBA pro. Pick a college, though, for me because, like I said, March Madness is here. Who do you got winning it? We're entering Sweet 16, Terry. It tips off, tomorrow night. Let me know who you got winning it. I picked Arizona before the tournament. I actually picked the Wildcats before the year even started. I'm going to ride with Caleb Love, Omar Ballo, and Tommy Lloyd. All right, let's head to the back half of this mock draft now. Devin Carter, the guard from Providence, heading to Toronto at 16. Does it all, very experienced ball player, can shoot the 3 ball at a very efficient rate, shot above 40% from beyond the arc this season. It's a question of Carter's upside, but his floor is very, very high. Someone's upside that is extremely high, and I don't really know where his ceiling begins, is Stephon Castle, the guard from UConn. He has been excellent in his freshman year for Dan Hurley's Huskies. Just a question of, can he really develop a jumper? Because if he can, he has the athletic ability and profile to be a good defender and a good finisher. He could be a great 2-way guard next to a started point guard. We'll see what Castle can bring with his shooting, though, in the association. Miami Heat here at 18, taking Tristan Da Silva, the forward from Colorado. This is going to be a similar pick to the one they made last year in Jaime Jaquez Jr. Da Silva, out of the Pac-12 as well, ironically enough, does it all. Excellent defender, high IQ basketball player, and if he develops a 3-point shot, he could be a great 4 in the NBA. He can also handle the rock a little bit. He did a lot for the Buffaloes. Da Silva's an interesting player that should probably go early first round to a contending team. Jared McCain, someone that producer Coop and I are very high on. He was higher than I was originally, but I have officially joined on the McCain hype train because this freshman from Duke can absolutely light it up from deep. I mean, he had 30 points, I believe, and 10 threes or 9 threes in the round of 32 game against JMU the other day. I think that set a freshman record, by the way, for the Blue Devils. McCain is a guard who can handle it, but also can play off ball and play in that kind of Klay Thompson role of just sprinting around, coming off screens and catching and shooting. McCain would be a great pickup for any team. I expect him by the time this actual draft rolls around to go in the lottery because he is that good. Yves Missi heading to the New York Knicks. The Knicks have 2 picks in this mock draft. Missi's one of them. Makes sense with the injury question marks surrounding Mitchell Robinson and then Isaiah Hartenstein potentially. I forgot what his contract situation is, but getting another center in that building could bode well for New York, especially with Mitchell Robinson's injury history. The freshman from Baylor is an absolute glass cleaner, also super athletic that can work off lobs. Honestly, kind of comps to Mitchell Robinson when you really dive into it. Tyler Smith heading to the Orlando Magic, and I'm not going to make the Smitty joke because I do it every single time. But I guess if you classify that as a Smitty joke, I've done it again. A young guy out of the G League Ignite, which, by the way, if you didn't hear, that is no more. This is the last year the G League Ignite will exist, so college basketball is all the way back, baby. You're going to see some of these top prospects that you've seen 3 of them now from the G League Ignite. They're going to be at the collegiate level. Smith has the ability to be a solid defending 3-and-D forward Magic pick him up with Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Kevin McCullough Jr., who has battled injuries for the Kansas Jayhawks the entire season, averaged 18.5 points a game. Older prospect, 22 years old right now. But McCullough Jr. is excellent defensively. He has a sweet stroke from beyond the arc, and he is going to fit in perfectly with any team looking to draft a player that can impact them winning right away, similar to a Jaime Jaquez Jr., who just has a role. Brandon Podziemski as well. McCullough Jr. in New York or any team looking to win a championship is a really good fit. Is he your favorite NBA draft prospect? Maybe he is. Who is your favorite NBA draft prospect? If you couldn't tell, I'm very bullish on Matas Buzelis. If I had to give another one, I'm probably going Dalton Connect. I'm a big fan of those two guys' games. Let me know your favorite NBA draft prospect down below. Maybe it's Bobby Klintman. Interesting story for him. He started his career at Wake Forest. Thought he was going to come out of the draft because he was a projected first-round pick last year. Ends up not going into the draft, but doesn't return to Wake Forest for the Demon Deacons. Goes overseas and plays for Cairns. Interesting forward who could space the floor. Honestly, if he hits his ceiling, I think he could be a Kyle Kuzma-esque player in the NBA. How about Juan Nunez out of Ratio Farm? I think I said that right. Point guard going to Cleveland here. Makes sense. They don't really have a good guard off the bench. Sam Merrill's a good shooter. They have Karis LeVert, but they don't have a true point guard to back up Darius Garland. It makes a lot of sense late in the first round to take a flyer on the Spaniard. Kaishan George, the freshman from Miami, really late rise into this draft. Was not anticipated to be a first-round pick or even maybe go into the NBA after year one at all. But terrific season for the Hurricanes, who had a really bad year in total. Kaishan George is someone to keep your eye out as we tread closer to the NBA draft. A player I'm a big fan of, Kel'el Ware, the center from Indiana, who actually declared for the NBA draft the day of filming this, Tuesday, March 26th. So he'll be in this draft class. Reminds me a lot of Noah Clowney from a year ago. Lengthy, shot blocker, super athletic, has a little bit of a jumper, but needs to put some meat on his bones and add some muscle for him to be able to handle some of the other bigs in the NBA. But a late flyer on him in the first round, sign me up. Milwaukee Bucks would get a good one, potentially being the Brook Lopez heir apparent. Carlton Carrington, the guard from Pitt going to Minnesota. Carlton Carrington almost got the Panthers into the March Madness tournament this year. They were just missing out of it, but Carlton coming out of nowhere, having a great season. I believe he actually had a triple-double in his first ever game for Pitt, and I believe he was the first player actually in college basketball history. Could be wrong. Flame me in the comment section if I am, to have a triple-double in their collegiate debut. Johnny Furphy going to the Jazz here at 28. I love this pick. Furphy has one of the sweetest strokes in this draft class. If you watched Gonzaga, Kansas this past weekend, he carried them at the beginning of that game. Had the first 8 points, couple triples. Furphy's got a sweet, sweet, sweet shot, man. I can't talk more about his shooting form. It is clearly the best in the class, if you ask me. Tyler Kolek going to the Nuggets here at 29 out of Marquette. He is just such an experienced, good basketball player, man. He can get to his left hand anytime he wants, finishing at the rim, has a good shot as well from beyond the arc. Heady basketball player. Honestly, Tyler Kolek going to the Denver Nuggets would be unfair. Being their backup point guard to Jamal Murray would be an absolute cheat code. That would be a scary fit for the rest of the league. Final pick in this mock draft, Justin Edwards, the freshman forward from Kentucky, going to the Celtics here at 30. I don't get this one at all. I am not a fan of Justin Edwards' game. I don't think he was that good for the Wildcats this season. I'll never forgive him for missing the dunk in that game against Oakland because it cost me some money. But either way, I am not the biggest fan of this fit, especially for a team in Boston that is likely going to want to win again next year if they didn't win this year, or try to win next year. I would think they'd go more experience here, maybe like a Ryan Dunn out of Virginia, or a Terrence Shannon Jr., or a Dylan Jones out of Weber State. Those guys come to mind as better fits, in my opinion, than Justin Edwards. I'll do it for today's mock draft. You can grade it down below if you want to, but make sure you are subscribed to the channel because, like I said earlier, I'm going to have you guys covered on the latest NBA draft rumors, draft big board, mock drafts. We will have it all. I'm going to cook up my second ever mock draft once March Madness concludes in a couple weeks, so be on the lookout for that and subscribe to the channel.